officers may be aware of time, place, agenda of this meeting. Roll call.
There we go. Lipke,
Here.
Gage,
Here.
Gunderson.
Here.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, the regular monthly meeting of April 5th.
Make a motion to approve the meetings from April 5th.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Citizens' appearances. Discussion of possible action on police step wage or wage scale.
Well, we had, I brought the step to the last meeting, and since that meeting, I've been asked to spread it out over a longer period of time. So I did that, and I have one for each of you. The colors are where, let me see which one you got there. Okay,
Dry one?
I have one short, just use this for a second. The yellow is where the officer currently is, where, if you look at sergeant, that's where Brandon's currently at, and under mine in the yellow is the 3013, that's where I am currently, and the blue is the average for Weyauwega County. Pen.
Is that thunder?
I hope not, I won't.
Keep that over there, done.
There's a 4-H meeting
Oh,
upstairs. They're moving
that was
tables
thunder.
around somewhere.
Figured my daughter would be calling in a second if it was thunder. She's at home.
Oh.
So I guess, can you go over this a little bit, since I wasn't here?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, what I brought in last time when you weren't here was, a 7-step version, basically was the same thing. And there was some discussion that maybe it should be stepped out to 11 steps for more time. And that's what I did, and I had
Okay.
a template that I got from Bruce to work off of, and that's how it
Okay.
came out. Forget, Pat, I don't know what this is about or why I have it, but this might be something for you for. I don't know how I ended up with it. It must have been on the printer.
Yeah.
Our other two officers said they're under 3-year probation now, so after 3 years, they're gonna be at step 1 then, right?
They're set for their first 3 years, and
First
then
3
their
years.
step 1 would happen at their third year anniversary.
22.
So that would be 2020.
Oh, okay, you got 22 here.
No, the year
Oh,
2020.
2020, oh, I got you. Alright. Do you have any questions on this, Patrick?
No, just a quick comment I've got is, so the scale itself, so we're in open session yet, the scale itself is what we talk about in open? Then you wanna talk about the next part of the conversation is probably where does everybody fit in on the steps? That would be what's reserved for closed session.
Okay.
But the open session would be, like I said, discussion of the pay scale. So I don't have any questions or comments. I talked to, the police department about it and, no questions, I guess.
So we need a motion for the scale, and then we'll go into closed session to.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you
if that's what we,
Pay scale is, because we haven't had a pay scale for the police department, and if the scale itself seems to be appropriate,
so what did we have before? Just,
Nothing.
everybody's just sort of at a rate, and then from year to year, you decide,
oh, you get the
Yeah.
cost of living percentage?
or whatever the percentage. Yep.
What do you got for the patrolmen? For what's their average rate now? Like, or they would be their halfway mark.
The patrol average
Yeah,
is
about
55,000, so I didn't give them a shade. Whatever.
okay.
Divide that by, 2184, 2,184. I do that quick.
I'm taking it's gonna be right in here.
You said 55,000?
Mm-hmm.
$25.18.
That's close.
6, 7. Now, one of the things, I've talked to some people who've worked on steps systems that have been in place for years, is you look at, this applies especially to our organization, if you have somebody who's a patrolman and they, because there's only 4 of us, would have to work through 11 steps, a promotion, another step, 11 steps potentially, and then if they promote to chief, there's another 11 steps. So you're looking at potentially a 30-year curve. Now, it's not gonna work out that way because I don't have that much time left, but Brandon's got 15, 18 years left, and the new guys will go, this is the whole scale for their entire career. So if it was a huge organization, obviously you'd have multiple people in multiple spots, but here, it's just, you're gonna track the 2 rookies on the first one, and then Brandon, wherever
Isn't there a
it's placed.
lieutenant spot or
We don't have a lieutenant, and we didn't put Brandon and I talked, we were gonna put the corporal in there, but
corporal? Oh, that's-
unless we grow with full-time officers, there's no foreseeable future for a corporal unless something it's gonna be years down the line, cause these guys are young, and with potential changes and retirements in the coming years, that if there's a natural progression forward and Brandon promoted, and you would have a patrolman who would probably go to sergeant.
But do we put it in there just because?
We
or-
can add it, it's just gonna be,
mean,
it's
okay.
gonna be between the 2.
Oh,
I mean,
between the 2, okay,
so, the scenario of it happening is unlikely.
okay.
So within the next 5 steps, probably all you guys be making steps. Maybe retiring, you move up, next one will move into his spot and carry on like that, huh?
Potentially.
Potentially, yeah, well, when time is, right,
You just gotta see where it falls when
right.
people are able to retire and whatnot, so.
You said they're at 25 right now? For 50 or 5,000, they're at 25 an hour?
Well, so just a clarification, if the patrol average, which is what the 55,000 number is, if that average is 55,000, our officers work essentially 42 hours a week. So that ends up being 2,184 hours. So if you take 55,000 divided by 2184, that means that a patrol average would be 2518, if that's the number. I actually do have a question though, on patrol and sergeant, that first, this, between step 1 and 2, it seems to be pretty small
Right.
for both. And then every other step looks like, so like the steps on the patrol looks like 60-some cents per step. From step 1 to 2 though, it's 43 cents.
That's gonna have to be looked at and adjusted because the number I had in there this morning,
Yep,
that's what was there.
okay.
It was a couple cents off from the one I had.
So it looks like,
So the
so
one-
steps 2 through 11 on those 2 have a pretty regular, is it like a percentage, or percent or something like that that's in there?
Right.
But, so for patrol, it looks like it's a smaller increment, and then for sergeant, it's 70 cents between steps 2 through 11, or between each step, but on the first one, it's not 70, it's 17.
Right.
Does that then, do all those steps need to be, like if 2 goes up, do all the rest of them go up then too a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I didn't get that far into putting time into it until we got here. That's just where his hourly wage landed.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just confused because at that, it looks to me like the patrolmen are already at about 6.5 out of 11.
no, so
No.
our patrolmen make $18.50 an hour right
Yeah,
now.
right now, they're on a 3-year.
Right.
He's saying the average
The
of a
average wages
patrolman
right
in the
now.
county,
The average wages right now are that.
not our wages.
Not ours.
Oh, that's what I asked you, what the, okay.
So our 2 patrolmen are making $18.50 per person,
Alright.
so
And
the
they're-
average is $18.50.
Their agreement is for 3 years with a $1 increase per year until their 3rd year.
I asked you what the average of patrolman, that was the 2518, what the average is.
In the county, he's
In
saying.
the county.
Right. Yeah.
But you're saying these numbers aren't right either, right? They still need tweaking?
No, just the sergeant number 1 and number 2. Because the number I had for Brandon's wage was 2488, that's what I
Yeah,
used.
You went 2550.
That's what I had on my wall for grant reimbursements. Patrick caught it this morning, said it's 2550, so I just put the 2550 in the first spot.
But for patrol though, it looks like the same thing though. Cause it's like 62 cents between step 2 and 3, 63, so it's like 60 cents for every step, but on the first one it's 43 cents though.
That's because that's where I gotta see this again. Maybe I'll just go make another copy, or can I use yours, Brandon? Did I give you one?
Minor in nature.
That's where
That's part of it.
Well, remember that the template I was working off of had numbers already programmed in.
Oh.
So when they get to the 22, that's as close to number 1 as there was. So the 1850,
yeah.
1950, 2050, 2150, 22.
So right now, we just have to approve the step program instead of, nothing, whatever we have now, right? For the cost of living raise or,
Well, this is gonna take the place of that. So every year when they make their budget out and stuff, they're gonna look and say, this is what, where we're gonna have to have, what we're gonna have to meet.
Yeah.
So they can meet their budget to that.
so you only can go up one step at a time?
Yep.
No.
You,
No.
You guys get to, and that's where the closed session discussion can pick up, but, so if you have a scale, I mean, I don't, I guess, sponsor or condone this, I guess, so much, or advocate for it is probably the better word. I mean, you don't have to give people a raise. You don't have to give them 1 step, you could go 3 steps, or 5, or whatever it is. So I think on that end, usually what you wanna do is, so that when we're doing the budget, you'd wanna have the city council determine where we're gonna go on the scale. And then once you've determined that, well, then the budget can get filled out then too. But so once you have a scale, you know what the steps could be, and then you can plug people in on the scale wherever you wanna plug them in. If you wanna give them a 2-step raise 1 year, or you wanna give them,
But usually you take a step every year. That's until you get to your, like we got it on here, our control point. You
Yeah.
hit that, then it takes 2 years to get a step.
yeah,
So once you hit that control point, that's where they're gonna be 2518 where everyone's at. Then after that, that's gonna be the control point. So it's gonna take 2 years to get another step, to make that much money.
well, that's probably more along the lines of the county's policy on how you
Right,
work.
yeah.
Work a pay scale, so
Everyone
you
can be
could,
different.
yeah, yep. But because you haven't had a pay scale here the last couple of years, you haven't been
Right.
able to work however you wanna roll people up and down the scale.
it goes the other way too, if they don't have a satisfactory
Right,
review.
exactly, yep,
And that's the key, I mean.
yep.
So if they did perform 1 year and then they performed, then they'd probably go up probably 2 if they.
Depending on
depends
their performance
yeah,
review, I mean,
okay.
it all hitches on if they're doing their job and they're doing it satisfactorily.
Are we looking to approve the concept of steps or the actual form itself with the numbers included?
Just a comment, second, or that's-
Yeah, I just put this together as a starting point, I
Well-
don't know where,
I don't I'm not saying whether I like it or dislike it, but I don't know that you can approve the concept. Then we'll have to go back and approve the numbers inside those steps.
No.
Because we can't just approve the concept of you doing steps and then not have any involvement in what numbers you put into those steps, what dollar amounts. You know what I'm saying?
Right, I mean,
So I guess what I'm questioning is, do you want the correct dollar amounts in there before you say yes to the steps? Because
No, I don't think
otherwise,
so.
if you don't agree on the dollar figures going in there, then we'll be throwing the steps out or something.
Right.
We'll be coming up to another battle. Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but are you asking me to change the numbers?
Well, I guess what I'm asking for is the actual numbers you wanna see in there. I'm just saying, before we prove anything, it should be the final product. Does that make sense, Brandon? You know what I mean?
Does,
I know, I don't,
Actually, I think these are pretty good steps. 43-cent raise, a little more.
So what was the difference between your first one? You had 7, or no, what was your first, last meeting? 7?
It was,
Right here.
for sergeant, it was $1 an hour for
Well, I
7
mean, you only had
steps.
7 steps? What,
Yeah.
what was the reasoning going from 7 to 11?
Wanted it stretched out more, and that's like Nick was saying, oh, we were gonna want the right dollar amount for their steps in there,
Okay,
instead of putting them in there and changing your dollar amount. You know
Okay.
where it's gonna be, this is where it is, it's gonna be exact,
okay.
not fluctuate right now.
I just wanted to ask why.
Is that what you getting at?
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Nick that way. You know, what's, your numbers here, have 'em what you want. Like steps,
I think that's what you're looking at. I think that's what you're
I ju- I-
looking to have supported,
Yeah,
right?
I
Are
think
these
the only
numbers?
difference would be step,
Well, what is it?
Brandon's first step, he's at, from step 1 to step 2 is 17 cents.
yeah, that's what you brought up.
Yeah.
So that one there is off,
Right, and that would,
it's not right.
I didn't do the percentage on what these are, I'm not sure how they came up with them, but you would just stretch it out. What's the interim between each one of them, is it the same every time?
So let's take the next one, I put my calculator with me, but.
Seventy-one.
71 cents you got?
71.
Two 2.7% on the sergeant steps?
2.7?
I think so.
But then the patrol, after their 3 year, if they're starting out at 1850, after their 3rd year, it'd only be at 2150 instead of 22. Or we make it 20.
Oh, it'll be 2050 because the
2050.
year, you count year one as part of their 3 years.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So year one is at 1850, they get a buck, 2019. The year 2019,
Yep.
they're at 1950. No, 2018, they're at 1950. 2019, they're at 2050. And then you're saying, then
Oh,
you
it's
plug them
22.
into then $22
Okay.
an hour starting in 2020 then?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I was just checking.
Or if you feel as though you want to move them up higher on the scale, I mean, the only thing you have is that they both signed their offer of employment had the dollar tiering for the first, 2-3 years, but if you guys determine that you want to bump them up or put them on the scale sooner, you got the ability to do that at any time too.
So all the sergeant would be different then, or?
Yeah, and that's just a matter of me going back and changing the numbers, but it would be like step one's 2550, step two 2621.
Step two would be what?
26, 21.
And the next one would be 2692.
And so on.
And
Yeah.
2762.
So what was the percentage that you're putting in there?
It's 26, 27.
2.7.
2.7. And what have we been averaging on the
This year,
cost of?
this year was 2.5 they got.
Year before was 2.
Oh, so 2.5, 2. You know what the third one was?
I think it was the last 4 years have been 3, 3, 2, 2.5.
I guess I don't like your steps, it's, to bump them up, cut a couple steps in a year. That's defeating the purpose here. A step would be your raise per year.
Yeah, but so we talked
And if you don't, you take your evaluation test, if they don't make their evaluations, then, hey, you don't get your step.
Yep, so the
Or
concept,
maybe we'll give you half a step.
I don't,
I guess that,
I don't understand, there's two things. One is, I don't understand having steps and then giving out half steps, because then you have a pay scale, and giving a half step takes you
well,
off
half
of the
step,
pay
it's
scale then.
not really a half a step. It
Okay.
just takes 2 years to get that step. You
Okay.
don't take a step, but it takes
So you're
2
not
years
really
to get
going
that
up,
one step.
okay,
Right, you don't get a half a step.
right, so
I
the,
just did that because it takes 2 years
That
to
makes
get
sense
my
then.
step.
so the concept of,
After we're at the, at the control point. If you meet your control point, which your control point here, we're gonna talk 2518. After that, it's gonna take 2 years to get a step.
if that's how you wanna run it,
If
yeah.
that's the way.
So the county's pay scale that you turned in says that control point is 100%, and then every step up until that, you have like 88%. So whatever 22 on patrol on this step one, 22, whatever percentage that is of 2518, your county pay scale says this is 87% of the control point or whatever it is. Once you hit 100%, which is what you're talking about, then
See-
it's over and above 100% is what
See,
you.
what they do, the young ones who start,
Mm-hmm,
to catch up to everybody, they'll give them a step every year
yep,
until they hit that control point.
yep,
And then it's 2 years
yep,
before you get a step. And then by then, they might post into something else, be an operator or something, and then they'll go into a different step. It's 5 or 6 or 7.
Sure.
Something like that. And then their pay scale will go after that. They'll hit your control point, and then 2 years
sure.
to get a step.
So the concept of moving multiple steps in a year, though, is, in general, the way they use that is to make sure that, like, say you have two people that start the same day. One of
Yeah.
them just punches the clock and shows up, and the other one goes above and beyond. Well, if they both just track and get a step at a time, the one that could overperform, if they're getting a step just to show up, you try to combat that a little bit by maybe being open to that. So if you're going to do a performance review, and if that performance review, if it's negative, you're not going to get a raise.
Right.
The idea in going multiple steps is that, so on the other side of it is if you overperform, maybe you can get more than, does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that's all, so this control point is a way of carrying out your pay scale, which is what the
Right,
county does.
right.
Moving people up or down or whatever it might be.
Right.
It might be a different way of carrying out the pay scale.
Right,
So you
exactly.
could,
Yep.
you could put these steps out and just say, okay, if you're at step one and it's a step a year, well then until year 11, you know what you're gonna make. That's not bad, but the other part of it is you also know that if you show up and punch the clock and don't get fired, well then you're just gonna be punching the clock, and,
Yeah. Right.
which is good and bad too, you know. So like we said, I think more getting the structure of the scale in place is probably a good thing, and then how do you roll out the scale? What's the ability for somebody to go up steps or not go up steps? That's probably the second conversation. I'm just maybe looking
I
to,
guess however
So do we
you
wanna,
guys wanna do it.
and it'd be up, so it'd be up to
Up
the
to
city
you guys.
council, yeah, but I would say, my understanding is that this is a pay scale that the police department supports, so I don't know. I mean, if you guys have questions or you have thoughts on it, might be the time to talk about that.
do we put that control point in like you said, or is that just what the county does? I mean,
No, that's just what they got here,
Okay.
no, he's
He's
gonna
got
have
it.
to make it all,
Okay.
do what he says.
okay. Any other discussion?
Can I just ask, are you talking about the scale in its idea in itself? Or are you talking about the scale of the numbers that are there? Is that? I'm trying to follow and I'm not sure if
Oh.
I'm on the same page, I'm just curious.
Well, we changed the sergeant scale.
Okay.
Jerry's got them all written in there now. That was the only one that was off, right? So we had just, basically we were trying to set up a scale system, right?
Yep,
But Nick, you wanted the numbers in there that reflect the scale?
Right. So I guess we're talking with these numbers right here.
I have added changed the sergeant ones now for steps 2 through 11. So step 2 would be 2671. Sorry, 2621. 3 is 2692. 4 is 2763. 5 is 2834. 6 is 2905. 7 is 2976. 8 is 3047. 9 is 3118.
31 what?
18. 10 is 3189. And 11 is 3260.
Just so I'm clear, as patrol, that was all good?
Theirs is fine.
After the whole years.
So if they're patrol for, say, 11 years, they get sergeant and they take a cut and pay?
No, you'd slide,
No, just let him know.
you wouldn't go from there to here, so if they're at 2804, you would come in at the next step would be 6 for them. So they'd move up.
Okay, I see, the step goes,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I get it now.
And usually it won't take that long, you know, they'll maybe get to step 6, 7. Someone's gonna be shifting, moving, and they're gonna fall back in. Your thoughts, Nick?
I don't know yet.
So now with the different, so the average would be step 5 then for sergeant? More?
Basically.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? So do we wanna make a motion, or do you wanna table it until we look at this and study it, or how do we wanna go?
I'll make a motion to go to the steps. And then I guess we'll have to deal with the rest in closed session. You know, I think it's better than a percentage every year. That way there you're gonna know where you're gonna be at. You know? You got any thoughts? Help us.
Lots, I have lots. I think the big thing is, so, going from not having a step scale, or having one 7, 8 years ago and having it just kinda go by the wayside, getting one back in is probably a big deal, it's a good deal. Getting one approved, though, doesn't mean that you can't tweak it later. I mean, cause you don't have the corporal role in here, if you ever wanted to reinstate that, you could. If you ever thought that these steps needed to be adjusted, either you could roll people up the scale, or you could adjust the scale. So I mean, it's fluid, I would think. So I don't think it's a bad idea to have one, you can't really discuss one without having one, so that's. Nothing else, you've got enough to get started with a discussion, and then the closed session part is probably the second part of it then, is where you plop people in, and, you know, you've talked about, I think at the last meeting, talked about performance dictating whether you go up or down. I mean, that's one thing that you don't
Yeah.
obviously talk about in open session so much when it comes to individuals, but. I don't think it's a bad idea.
I'll second it.
So we got a motion and a second to approve the scale. The wages on it. Step scale,
With the amended wages?
with amended wages on
Minimum
it.
wages, yeah.
Sure. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote. All right. Any other matters authorized by law?
The other thing, I don't know if you wanna give an update on your event for tomorrow, we don't have a department update on here, but.
Oh, in case you don't know, there's Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General Dave Perlman and Tara Jenswell, criminal traffic prosecutor, are coming here tomorrow, and we have a full house for our legal update, so parking lots will be full. I tried to do some damage control with some of our businesses. We're gonna park 2 of our squads out in the back lot early in the morning, and then once the people get here, we're gonna move them so people can get into the Maytag or, Blessings or whatever that.
So is it
They'll-
police?
It'll be all law enforcement, there'll be 62 officers here.
Is that what you did last year or something?
Yeah, we did it last year, and I walked down Main Street to give everybody a heads up, because some people panicked when they saw the squad cars last year. And there'll be another meeting coming up in May on officer-involved shootings, it'll be similar to this in the afternoon, but. That's why we went out and told them, that's, do preliminary damage control, but this is a great deal for us, because usually when we get, if we send 10 people legal update, it's $75 a person, plus lunch and overtime. Here, he comes to us, he doesn't charge us, make some copies and take them out for a hamburger afterwards, so it's good use of the building.
Good. Let's make a motion to go into closed session, huh? Or do we have to adjourn first? We have to adjourn first.
So we'll make a motion, go into closed session and read that.
Make a motion to go into closed session. 1985 Wisconsin statute, consideration of employment, promotion, compensation, performance, evaluation data of any city employee who is subject to, jurisdiction or authorized by council. The reason for closed session is discuss police department employee compensation. Committee may choose to reconvene in open session to complete the closed session in order to take action an item from closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion in a second, we'll do a roll call vote. Lippy,
Aye.
Page,
All right.
Henderson.
Aye.
6:37, we'll go into closed session.